Good morning, folks and family. This is Raymond X the Prophet coming to you once again, and I have another word for today for you. Today is Sunday, September 13th, 2020 at 10:03 a.m. And this is the word for today, part 1, May 12th, 2020. Once again, the word for today, part 1, May 12th, 2020. This is going to be a lengthy journal entries for the day, so just kind of hang in there with me. You can always find the entries at the bottom of the description box below the video. So if you can't watch the whole video, you can always grab the show notes at the bottom of the video and copy and paste and give them out to anybody you want. Okay, let's go ahead and start with the first journal entry. The first journal entry I have for you is at May 11th, 2020 at 3:49 a.m. And this is Jesus speaking to me. I will consume them with the breath of my mouth. I will consume them with the breath of my mouth. Jesus. This is found in Psalm 18, verses 8, 13, 15, and 37. Smoke went out of his nostrils. Consuming fire came out of his mouth. Coals were kindled by it. Yahweh also thundered in the sky. The Most High uttered his voice. Hailstones and coals of fire. Then the channels of waters appeared. The foundations of the world were laid bare to rebuke Yahweh at the blast of the breath of your nostrils. I will pursue my enemies and overtake them. I won't turn away until they are consumed. Psalm 21, verse 9. You will make them as a fiery furnace in the time of your anger. Yahweh will swallow them up in his wrath. The fire shall devour them. The book of Isaiah, chapter 11, verse 4. But he will judge the poor of righteousness and decide with equity for the humble of the earth. He will strike the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips he will kill the wicked. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 8. Then the lawless one will be revealed, whom the Lord will kill with the breath of his mouth and destroy by the manifestation of his coming. Genesis chapter 19, verse 28. He looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah and toward all the land of the plain, and saw that the smoke of the land went up as the smoke of a furnace. Exodus chapter 9, verse 23. Moses stretched out his rod toward the heavens, and Yahweh sent thunder and hail, and lightning flashed down to the earth. Yahweh rained hail on the land of Egypt. Exodus chapter 15, verse 8. With the blast of your nostrils the waters were piled up. The flood stood upright as a heap. The deeps were congealed in the heart of the sea. Exodus chapter 20, verse 18. All the peoples perceived the thunderings, the lightnings, the sound of the trumpet, and the mountain smoking. When the people saw it, they trembled and stayed at a distance. Deuteronomy chapter 32, verses 22 and 24. For a fire is kindled in my anger, that burns to the lowest Sheol, devours the earth of its increase, and sets the foundations of the mountains on fire. They shall be wasted with hunger, and devoured with burning heat and bitter destruction. I will send the teeth of animals on them, with the venom of vipers that glide in the dust. 1 Samuel chapter 2, verse 10. Those who strive with Yahweh shall be broken to pieces. He will thunder against them in the sky. Yahweh will judge the ends of the earth. He will give strength to his king and exalt the horn of his anointed. 2 Samuel chapter 7, verse 9. I have been with you wherever you went, and have cut off all your enemies before you. I will make you a great name, like the name of the great ones who are in the earth. 2 Samuel chapter 8, verse 15. David reigned over all Israel, and David executed justice and righteousness for all his people. 2 Samuel chapter 23, verses 2 through 4. Yahweh's Spirit spoke by me. His word was on my tongue. The God of Israel said, the Rock of Israel spoke to me, one who rules over men righteously, one who rules over the fear of God, shall be as the light of the morning when the sun rises, a morning without clouds, when the tender grass springs out of the earth, through clear shining after rain. 2 Kings chapter 19, verse 7. Behold, I will put a spirit in him, and he will hear news, and will return to his own land. I will cause him to fall by the sword in his own land. The book of Job chapter 4, verse 9. By the breath of God they perished, by the blast of his anger are they consumed. Job chapter 6, verse 3. For now it will be heavier than the sin of the seas, therefore my words have been rash. Job chapter 20, verse 26. All darkness is laid up for his treasures. An unfanned fire will devour him. It will consume that which is left in his tent. Job chapter 38, verses 4 through 6. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare if you have understanding. Who determined its measurements, if you know? Or who stressed a line on it? What were its foundations fastened on? Or who laid its cornerstone? Psalm 2, verses 5, 9, and 12. Then he will speak to him in his anger, and terrify them in his wrath. You shall break them with a rod of iron. You shall dash to pieces like a potter's vessel. Give sincere homage to the Son, lest he be angry and you perish on the way. For his wrath will soon be kindled. Blessed are those who take refuge in him. Psalm 3, verse 7. Arise, Yahweh, save me, my God. For ye have struck all my enemies on the cheekbone. Ye have broken the teeth of the wicked. Psalm 9, verse 6. The enemy is overtaken by endless ruin. The very memory of the cities which you have overthrown has perished. Psalm 11, verse 6. On the wicked he will rain blazing coals. Fire, sulfur, and scorching wind shall be the portion of their cup. Psalm 18, verses 8 and 15. Smoke went out of his nostrils. Consuming fire came out of his mouth. Coals were kindled by it. Then the channels of waters appeared. The foundations of the world were laid bare at your rebuke, Yahweh, at the blast of the breath of your nostrils. Psalm 29, verses 3 and 4. Yahweh's voice is on the waters. The God of glory thunders, even Yahweh on many waters. Yahweh's voice is powerful. Yahweh's voice is full of majesty. Okay, folks and family, the next journal entry I have for you, May 11, 2020 at 3:56 a.m. O destroying cherub. O destroying cherub. Let's start with Isaiah chapter 14, verses 12 through 17, key verse 17. How you have fallen from the heavens, shining one, son of the dawn. How you have cut down to the ground, who laid the nations low. You said in your heart, I will ascend into heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit on the mountain of assembly in the far north. I will sit above the heights of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High. Yet you shall be brought down to Sheol, to the depths of the pit. Those who see you will stare at you. They will ponder you, saying, Is this the man who made the earth to tremble, who shook kingdoms, who made the world like a wilderness and overthrew its cities, who didn't release his prisoners to their home? Ezekiel chapter 28, verses 12 through 19, key verses 15 and 16. Son of man, take up a lamentation of the king of Tyre and tell him, the Lord Yahweh says, You are the seal of full measure, full wisdom, and perfect in beauty. You were in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone adored you, ruby, topaz, emerald, chrysolite, onyx, jasper, sapphire, turquoise, and beryl. Gold work of tamarines and of pipes was in you. They were prepared in the day that you were created. You were the anointed cherub who covers. Then I set you up on the holy mountain of God. You have walked up and down the middle of the stones of fire. You were perfect in your ways the day that you were created, until unrighteousness was found in you. By the abundance of your commerce, your insides were filled with violence, and you have sinned. Therefore I have cast you as a profane out of God's mountain. I have destroyed you, covering cherub, from the middle of the stones of fire. Your heart was lifted up because of your beauty. You have corrupted your wisdom by reason of your splendor. I have cast you to the ground. I have laid you before kings, that they may see you. By the multitude of your iniquities and the unrighteousness of your commerce, you profane your sanctuaries. Therefore I have brought out a fire from the middle of you, and has devoured you. I have turned you to ashes on the earth, in the sight of all those who see you. All those who know you among the peoples will be astonished at you. You have become a terror, and you will exist no more. The book of Genesis, chapter 1, verses 26, 27, 31. And God said, Let's make man in our image, after our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the sky, and over livestock, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. God created man in his own image. In God's image he created him, male and female. He created them. God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. There was evening and there was morning, a sixth day. Genesis chapter 6, verses 5 and 6. Yahweh saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of thoughts of man's heart was continually only evil. Yahweh was sorry that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him in his heart. 2 Chronicles, chapter 28, verses 8 through 15. The children of Israel carried away captive of their brothers 200,000 women, sons, and daughters, and also took away much plunder from them, and brought the plunder to Samaria. But a prophet Yahweh was there, whose name was Obed, and he went out to meet the army that came to Samaria, and said to them, Behold, because Yahweh, the God of your fathers, was angry with Judah, he has delivered them into your hand, and you have slain them in a rage which has reached up to heaven. Now you intend to degrade the children of Judah and Jerusalem as male and female slaves for yourselves. Aren't there even a few trespasses of your own against Yahweh your God? Now hear me therefore, and send back the captives that you have taken captive from your brothers, for the fierce wrath of Yahweh is on you. Then some of the heads of the children of Ephraim, Azariah the son of Johanan, Rechariah the son of Meshelmoth, Jehezekiah the son of Shallum, and Amasa the son of Hadlai, stood up against those who came from the war, and said to them, You must not bring in the captives here, for ye intend that which will bring on us a trespass against Yahweh, to add to our sins and to our guilt, for our guilt is great, and there is fierce wrath against Israel. So the armed men left the captives and the plunder before the princes and all the assembly. The men who had been mentioned by name rose up and took the captives, and with the plunder clothed all who were naked among them, dressed them, gave them sandals, gave them something to eat and drink, anointed them, carried all the people of them on donkeys, and brought them to Jericho, the city of palm trees, and to their brothers. Then they returned to Samaria. Isaiah chapter 13, verses 19 through 22. Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldeans, pride will be like when God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. It will never be inhabited, neither will be lived in from generation to generation. The Arabian will not pitch a tent there, neither will shepherds make their flocks lie down there. But wild animals of the desert will lie there, and their houses will be full of jackals. Ostriches will dwell there, and wild goats will frolic there. Hyenas will cry in their fortresses, and jackals in the pleasant palaces. Her time is near to come, and her days will not be prolonged. Isaiah chapter 14, verse 18. All the kings of the nations sleep in glory, everyone in his own house. Isaiah chapter 45, verse 13. I raised up righteousness, and I will make all his ways straight. He shall build my city, and he shall let my exiles go free. Not for price nor reward, says Yahweh of armies. Isaiah chapter 58, verse 6. Isn't this the fast I've chosen, to release the bonds of wickedness, to undo the straps of the yoke, to let the oppressed go free, that you break every yoke? Isaiah chapter 64, verse 10. Your holy cities have become a wilderness. Zion has become a wilderness. Jerusalem a desolation. Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 33. Yahweh of armies says, The children of Israel and the children of Judah are pressed together. All who take them captive hold them fast. They refuse to let them go. Ezekiel chapter 6, verse 14. I will stretch out my hand on them and make the land desolate and waste, from the wilderness toward Diblah, throughout all their habitations. Then they will know that I am Yahweh. Ezekiel chapter 27, verses 3 and 4. Until Tyre, you who dwell at the entry of the sea, who are the merchants of the people to many islands, the Lord Yahweh says, You, Tyre, have said, I am perfect in beauty. Your borders are in the hearts of the seas. Your builders have perfected your beauty. Ezekiel chapter 28, verses 3 through 6. Behold, you are wiser than Daniel. There is no secret hidden from you. By your wisdom and by your understanding you have gotten yourself riches, and have gotten gold and silver to your treasuries. By your great wisdom and by your training you have increased your riches, and your heart is lifted up because of your riches. Therefore, the Lord Yahweh says, because you have set your heart as the heart of God. The book of Joel, chapter 2, verse 3. A fire devours before them, and behind them a flame burns. The land is as the Garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness. Yes, and no one has escaped them. Okay, folks and family, the last journal entry is very lengthy in size. May 11, 2020, at 6:31 a.m., he shall judge the guilty and the innocent. He shall judge the guilty and the innocent. And let's start with Genesis chapter 18, verse 25. May it be far from you to do things like that, to kill the righteous with the wicked, so that the righteous should be like the wicked. May that be far from you. Should the judge of all earth do right? Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 18. You shall make judges and officers in all your gates, which Yahweh your God gives you according to your tribes, and they shall judge the people with righteous judgment. Deuteronomy chapter 17, verses 9 and 12. You shall come to the priests who are Levites, and to the judge who shall be in those days. You shall inquire, and they shall give you the verdict. The man who does presumptuously and not listening to the priest, who stands to minister there before Yahweh your God, or to the judge, even that man shall die. You shall put away the evil from Israel. Deuteronomy chapter 21, verse 2. Then your elders and your judges shall come out, and they shall measure to the cities which are around him who is slain. Psalm 7, verses 8 and 11. Yahweh administers judgment to the peoples. Judge me, Yahweh, according to my righteousness, and to my integrity that is in me. God is a righteous judge. Yes, a God who has indignation every day. Psalm 9, verse 8. He will judge the world in righteousness. He will minister judgment to the peoples in uprightness. Proverbs chapter 17, verse 15. He who justifies the wicked and he who condemns the righteous, both of them alike are an abomination to Yahweh. Zechariah chapter 11, verse 5. Their buyers slaughter them and go unpunished. Those who sell them say, Blessed be Yahweh, for I am rich. And their own shepherds don't pity them. Genesis chapter 18, verse 24. What if there are 50 righteous within the city? Will you consume and not spare the place for the 50 righteous who are in it? Genesis chapter 20, verse 5. Did he tell me she is my sister? She herself said, He is my brother. I have done this in the integrity of my heart and the innocence of my hands. Genesis 37, verses 26 and 28. Judah said to his brothers, What profit it is if we kill our brother and conceal his blood? Come, and let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let us not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother, our flesh. His brothers listened to him. Midianites, who were merchants, passed by, and they lifted up Joseph out of the pit, and sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver. The merchants brought Joseph into Egypt. Exodus chapter 22, verse 8. If the thief isn't found, then the master of the house shall come near to God to find out whether or not he has put his hand on his neighbor's goods. Exodus chapter 23, verse 7. Keep far from a false charge, and don't kill the innocent and righteous, for I will not justify the wicked. Exodus chapter 23, verse 7. Numbers chapter 15, verse 30. But the soul who does anything with a high hand, whether he is native born or a foreigner, blasphemes Yahweh, that soul shall be cut off among his people. Deuteronomy chapter 1, verses 15 through 17 and 43. So I took the heads of your tribes, wise and respected men, and made them heads over you, captains of thousands, captains of hundreds, captains of fifties, captains of tens, and officers according to your tribes. I commanded your judges at that time, saying, Hear case between your brothers, and judge righteously between the man and his brother, and the foreigner who is living with him. You shall not show partiality in judgment. You shall hear the small and the great alike. You shall not be afraid of the face of man, for the judgment is God's. The case is too hard for you, you shall bring to me, and I will hear it. So I spoke to you, and you didn't listen, but you rebelled against the commandment of Yahweh, and were presumptuous, and went up into the hill country. Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 8. At that time Yahweh set apart the tribe of Levi to bear the ark of Yahweh's covenant and stand before Yahweh to minister him, and to bless in his name to this day. Deuteronomy chapter 13, verses 5 and 11. That prophet, or that dreamer of dreams, shall be put to death, because he spoke in rebellion against Yahweh your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt and redeemed you out of the house of bondage, to draw you aside out of the way which Yahweh your God commanded you to walk in, so you shall remove the evil from among you. All Israel shall hear and fear, and shall not do any more wickedness like this among you. Deuteronomy chapter 16, verses 17 and 19. Every man shall give as he is able, according to Yahweh your God's blessing which he has given you. You shall not pervert justice, you shall not show partiality. You shall not take a bribe, for a bribe blinds the eyes of the wise, and perverts the words of the righteous. Deuteronomy chapter 17, verses 7, 10, and 13. The hands of the witnesses shall be first on him to put him to death, and afterward the hands of all the people. So you shall remove the evil from among you. You shall do according to the decisions of the verdict which they shall give you from that place which Yahweh chooses. You shall observe to do according to all that they shall teach you. All the people shall hear and fear, and do no more presumptuously. Deuteronomy chapter 18, verses 5, 7, and 20. For Yahweh your God has chosen him out of all your tribes to stand to minister in Yahweh's name, him and his sons forever. Then he shall minister in the name of Yahweh his God, as all his brothers the Levites do, who stand there before Yahweh. But the prophet who speaks a word presumptuously in my name, which I have not commanded him to speak, or he speaks in the name of other gods, that same prophet shall die. Deuteronomy chapter 19, verses 19 through 21. Then you shall do to him as he had thought to do to his brother. So you shall remove the evil from among you. Those who remain shall hear and fear, and never again commit any such evil among you. Your eyes shall not pity life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot. Deuteronomy chapter 21, verses 1, 3, and 5. If someone is found slain in the land which Yahweh your God gives you to possess, lying in the field, and it isn't known who has struck him, it shall be that the elders of the city which is nearest to the slain man shall take a heifer of the herd, which hasn't been worked with, and was not drawn in the yoke. The priests of the sons of Levi shall come near, for them Yahweh your God has chosen to minister to him, and to bless in Yahweh's name, and according to their word shall every controversy and every assault be decided. Deuteronomy chapter 25, verse 1. If there is a controversy between men, and they come to judgment, and the judge judges them, then they shall justify the righteous and condemn the wicked. Deuteronomy chapter 29, verses 19 through 21. And it happened, when he hears the words of this curse, that he himself in his heart, saying, I shall have peace, though I walk in the stubbornness of my heart, to destroy the moist with the dry. Yahweh will not pardon him, but then Yahweh's anger and his jealousy will smoke against that man, and all the curse as written in this book will fall on him, and Yahweh will blot out his name from under the sky. Yahweh has set him apart for evil out of all the tribes of Israel, according to all the curses of the covenant written in this book of the law. Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 4. The rock, his work is perfect, for all his ways are just. A God of faithfulness who does no wrong, just and right is he. The book of Judges, chapter 11, verse 27. Therefore I have not sinned against you, but you do me wrong to war against me. May Yahweh the judge be judged today between the children of Israel and the children of Ammon. Judges, chapter 20, verse 13. Now therefore deliver up the men, the wicked fellows who are in Gibeah, that we may put them to death and put away evil from Israel. But Benjamin would not listen to the voice of their brothers, the children of Israel. 1 Samuel chapter 3, verse 13. For I have told him that I will judge his house forever for the iniquity which he knew, because his sons brought a curse on themselves, and he didn't restrain them. 1 Samuel chapter 8, verse 1. When Samuel was old, he made his sons judges over Israel. 1 Samuel chapter 26, verse 23. Yahweh will render to every man his righteousness and his faithfulness, because Yahweh delivered you into my hand today, and I wouldn't stretch out my hand against Yahweh's anointed. 1 Kings chapter 21, verse 23. Yahweh also spoke of Jezebel, saying, the dogs will eat Jezebel by the rampart of Jezreel. 2 Kings chapter 4, verse 1. Now a certain woman of the wives, the sons of the prophets, cried out to Elisha, saying, your servant my husband is dead. You know that your servant feared Yahweh. Now the creditor has come to take for himself my 2 children to be slaves. 2 Chronicles chapter 19, verses 5 and 7. He set judges in the land throughout all the fortified cities of Judah, city by city. Now therefore let the fear of Yahweh be on you. Take heed and do it. For there is iniquity with Yahweh our God, nor respect of persons, nor taking of bribes. Ezra chapter 7, verse 25. You, Ezra, according to the wisdom of your God that is in your hand, appoint magistrates and judges who may judge all the people who are beyond the river, who all know the laws of your God, and teach him who doesn't know them. Ezra chapter 10, verse 8. and that whoever didn't come within 3 days, according to the counsel of the princes and elders, all his possessions shall be forfeited, and he himself separated from the assembly of the captivity. The book of Nehemiah, chapter 5, verse 8. I said to them, we after our ability have redeemed our brothers the Jews that were sold to the nations, and would you even sell your brothers, and should they be sold to us? Then they held their peace, and found out a word to say. Nehemiah chapter 9, verse 33. However, ye are just in all that has come on us, for ye are dealt truly, but we have done wickedly. Job chapter 8, verses 3 and 20. Does God pervert justice, or does the Almighty pervert righteousness? Behold, God will not cast away a blameless man, neither will he uphold the evildoers. Job chapter 9, verses 22 and 23. It is all the same, therefore I say he destroys the blameless and the wicked. If the scourge kills suddenly, he will mock at the trial of the innocent. Job chapter 34, verses 10, 17 through 19. Therefore listen to me, ye men of understanding. Far be it from God that he should do wickedness, from the Almighty that he should commit iniquity. Should even one who hates justice govern? Will you condemn him who is righteous and mighty, who says to a king, vile, or to nobles, wicked? He doesn't respect the purse of the princes, nor respect the rich more than the poor, for they are all the work of his hands. Psalm 1, verse 5. Therefore the wicked shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. Psalm 11, verses 4 and 7. Yahweh is in his holy temple. Yahweh is on his throne in heaven. His eyes observe, his eyes examine the children of men. For Yahweh is righteous, he loves righteousness. The upright shall see his face. Psalm 18, verses 20 through 24. Yahweh has rewarded me according to my righteousness. According to the cleanness of my hands he has recompensed me. For I kept the ways of Yahweh, and not wickedly departed from my God. For all his ordinances were before me. I didn't put away his statutes from me. I was also blameless of him. I kept myself from my iniquity. Therefore Yahweh has rewarded me according to my righteousness, according to the cleanness of my hands in his eyesight. Psalm 25, verse 21. Let integrity and uprightness preserve me, for I wait for you. Psalm 26, verses 1 and 11. Judge me, Yahweh, for I walked in my integrity. I have trusted also in Yahweh without wavering. But as for me, I will walk in my integrity. Redeem me and be merciful to me. Psalm 35, verses 24 through 27. Vindicate me, Yahweh my God, according to your righteousness. Don't let them gloat over me. Don't let them say in their heart, aha, that's the way we want it. Don't let them say, we have swallowed him up. Let them be disappointed and confounded together and rejoice at my calamity. Let them be clothed with shame and dishonor and magnify themselves against me. Let those who favor my righteous cause shout for joy and be glad. Yes, let them say continually, may Yahweh be magnified, who has pleasure in the prosperity of his servant. Psalm 41, verse 12. As for me, you uphold me in my integrity, and set me in your presence forever. Psalm 43, verse 1. Vindicate me, God, and plead my cause against an ungodly nation. Oh, deliver me from deceitful and wicked men. Psalm 50, verse 6. The heavens shall declare his righteousness, for God himself is judge. Selah. Psalm 58, verse 11. So that men shall say, most certainly there is a reward for the righteous. Most certainly there is a God who judges the earth. Psalm 67, verse 4. Let the nations be glad and sing for joy, for you will judge the peoples with equity and govern the nations on earth. Selah. Psalm 75, verse 2. When I choose the appointed time, I will judge blamelessly. Psalm 76, verse 9. When God arose to judgment, to save all the afflicted ones of the earth. Selah. Psalm 82, verse 1. God presides in the great assembly. He judges among the gods. Psalm 90, verse 9. For all our days have passed away in your wrath. We bring our years to an end as a sigh. Psalm 94, verses 15 and 21. For judgment will return to righteousness, all the upright in heart shall follow it. They gather themselves together against the soul of the righteous, and condemn the innocent blood. Psalm 94, verses 15 and 21. Psalm 96, verses 10 and 13. Say among the nations, Yahweh reigns. The world is also established, it can't be moved. Before Yahweh, for he comes to judge the earth. He will judge the world with righteousness, the peoples with his truth. Psalm 98, verse 9. Let them sing before Yahweh, for he comes to judge the earth. He will judge the world with righteousness, and the peoples with equity. Psalm 140, verses 12 and 13. I know that Yahweh will maintain the cause of the afflicted, and the justice for the needy. Surely the righteous will give thanks to your name. The upright will dwell in your presence. Proverbs chapter 6, verse 16. There are 6 things which Yahweh hates, yes, 7 which are an abomination to him. Proverbs chapter 11, verse 1. A false balance is an abomination to Yahweh, but accurate weights are his delight. Proverbs chapter 15, verse 8. The sacrifice made by the wicked is an abomination to Yahweh, but the prayer of the upright is his delight. Proverbs chapter 17, verse 26. Also to punish the righteous is not good, nor to flog officials for their integrity. Proverbs chapter 18, verse 5. To be partial to the face of the wicked is not good, nor to deprive the innocent of justice. Proverbs chapter 21, verse 11. When the mocker is punished, the simple gains wisdom. When the wise is instructed, he receives knowledge. Proverbs chapter 24, verses 23 and 24. These also are sayings of the wise. To show partiality in judgment is not good. He who says to the wicked, ye are righteous, peoples will curse him, and nations will abhor him. Proverbs chapter 31, verses 5 and 23. Lest they drink and forget the law, and pervert the justice due to anyone who is afflicted. Her husband is respected in the gates, when he sits among the elders of the land. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 17. I said in my heart, God will judge the righteous and the wicked, for there is a time there for every purpose and for every work. Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 15. All this I have seen in my days of vanity. There is a righteous man who perishes in his righteousness, and there is a wicked man who lives long in his evil doing. Isaiah chapter 3, verses 10 and 11. Tell the righteous that it will be well with them, for they will eat the fruit of their deeds. Woe to the wicked! Disaster is upon them. The deeds of their hands will be paid back to them. Isaiah chapter 5, verses 20 and 23. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter, who acquit the guilty for a bribe, but deny justice for the innocent. Jeremiah chapter 2, verse 3. Israel was holiness to Yahweh, the first fruits of his increase. All who devour him will be held guilty. Evil will come on them, says Yahweh. Jeremiah chapter 11, verse 20. But Yahweh of armies, who judges righteously, who tests the heart and the mind, I will see your vengeance on them, for to you have revealed my cause. Jeremiah chapter 12, verse 1. You are righteous, Yahweh, when I contend with you, yet I would like to plead a case with you. Why does the way of the wicked prosper? Why are they all at ease who deal very treacherously? Jeremiah chapter 18, verse 18. Then they said, Come, let us devise plans against Jeremiah. For the law won't perish from the priest, nor counsel from the wise, nor the word from the prophet. Come, let's strike him with the tongue. Let's not give heed to any of his words. Jeremiah chapter 23, verses 1 and 2. Woe to the shepherds who destroy and scatter the sheep of my pasture, says Yahweh. Therefore, Yahweh, the God of Israel, says against the shepherds who feed my people, You have scattered my flock, driven them away, and have not visited them. Behold, I will visit on you the evil of your doings, says Yahweh. Jeremiah chapter 25, verse 3. From the 13th year of Josiah the son of Ammon, king of Judah, even to this day, these 23 years, Yahweh's word has come to me, and I have spoken to you, rising up early and speaking, but you have not listened. Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 7. All who found them and devoured them, their adversaries said, We are not guilty, because they have sinned against Yahweh, the habitation of righteousness, even Yahweh, the hope of their fathers. Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 7. Lamentations chapter 3, verse 35. To turn away the right of a man before the face of the Most High. Ezekiel chapter 18, verse 25. Yet you say, The way of the Lord is not equal. Hear now, house of Israel, is my way not equal? Aren't your ways unequal? Ezekiel chapter 22, verses 25 through 27. There's a conspiracy of her prophets within it like a roaring lion raving the prey. They have devoured souls, they take treasure in precious things. They have made many widows within her. Her priests have done violence to my law and have profaned my holy things. They have made no distinction between the holy and the common, neither have they caused men to discern between the unclean and the clean, and have hidden their eyes from my Sabbaths. So I am profaned among them. Her princes within it are like wolves grabbing the prey, to shed blood and destroy souls, that they may get dishonest gain. Ezekiel chapter 34, verses 2 through 4, 6, 10, 18, 19, and 21. Son of man, prophesy against the shepherd of Israel. Prophesy and tell them, even the shepherds, the Lord Yahweh says, woe to the shepherds of Israel who feed themselves. Should the shepherds feed the sheep? You eat the fat, you clothe yourself with the wool, you kill the fatlings, but you don't feed the sheep. You haven't strengthened the diseased, you haven't healed that which was sick, you haven't bound up that which was broken, you haven't brought back that which was driven away. You have sought that which was lost, but you have ruled over them with force and with rigor. My sheep wandered through all the mountains and on every high hill. Yes, my sheep were scattered on all the surface of the earth. There was no one who searched or sought. The Lord Yahweh says, behold, I'm against the shepherds. I will require my sheep at their hand, and cause them to cease from feeding the sheep. The shepherds won't feed themselves anymore. I will deliver my sheep from their mouth, that they may not be food for them. Does it seem a small thing to you to have fed on the good pasture, but you must tread down with your feet the residue of your pasture, and to have drunk of the clear waters, but you must foul the residue with your feet? As for my sheep, they eat that which you have trodden with your feet, and they drink that which you have fouled with your feet. Because you thrust with side and with shoulder, and push all the disease with your horns, until you have scattered them abroad. Ezekiel chapter 44, verse 24. In a controversy they shall stand to judge. They shall judge according to my ordinance. They shall keep my laws, and my statutes, and all my appointed feasts. They shall make my Sabbaths holy. Hosea chapter 4, verse 4. Yet let no man bring a charge, neither let any man accuse. For your people are like those who bring charges against the priests. Hosea chapter 12, verse 8. Ephraim said, should I become rich? I found myself wealth. In all my wealth they won't find me in any iniquity that is sin. The book of Haggai chapter 2, verse 11. Yahweh of armies says, ask now the priests concerning the law, saying. Zechariah chapter 3, verse 7. Yahweh of armies says, if you walk in my ways, and if you will follow my instructions, then ye also shall judge my house, and shall also keep my courts, and I will give you a place of access among these who stand by. Malachi chapter 2, verse 7. For the priest's lips shall keep knowledge, and they shall seek the law in his mouth, for he is the messenger of Yahweh of armies. Malachi chapter 3, verse 18. These shall return and discern between the righteous and the wicked, between him who serves God and him who doesn't serve him. The Gospel of Matthew chapter 5, verses 21 and 22. You have heard that it was said to the ancient ones, you shall not murder, and whoever murders will be in danger of the judgment. But I tell you that everyone who is angry with his brother without a cause will be in danger of the judgment. Whoever said to his brother, Raca, will be in danger of the council. Whoever says, you fool, will be in danger of the fire of Gehenna. The Gospel of Luke, chapter 10, verse 16. Whoever listens to you listens to me, and whoever rejects you rejects me. Whoever rejects me rejects him who sent me. The Gospel of John, chapter 5, verses 22 through 27. For the Father judges no one, but he has given all judgment to the Son, that all may honor the Son, even as they honor the Father. He who doesn't honor the Son doesn't honor the Father who sent him. Most certainly I tell you, he who hears my word and believes in him, who sent me, has eternal life, and doesn't come into judgment, but has passed out of death into life. Most certainly I tell you, the hour comes, and now is, when the dead will hear the Son of God's voice, and those who hear will live. For as the Father has life in himself, even so he gave the Son also to have life in himself. He also gave him authority to execute judgment, because he is the Son of Man. The Gospel of John, chapter 10, verses 1, 12, and 13. Most certainly I tell you, one who doesn't enter by the door to the sheepfold, but climbs up some other way, is a thief and a robber. He who is a hired hand and not a shepherd who doesn't own the sheep and sees the wolf coming, leaves the sheep and flees. The wolf snatches the sheep and scatters them. The hired hand flees because he is a hired hand and doesn't care for the sheep. The book of the Acts of the Apostles, chapter 17, verse 31. Because he appointed a day in which he will judge the world in righteousness by the man whom he has ordained. Because he has appointed a day in which he will judge the world in righteousness by the man whom he has ordained, of which he has given assurance to all men, and that he has raised him from the dead. Romans chapter 3, verses 5 and 6. But if our right and righteousness commends the righteousness of God, what will we say? Is God unrighteous who inflicts wrath? I speak like men do. May never be. But then how will God judge the world? Romans chapter 13, verses 3 and 4. For rulers are not a terror to the good work, but to the evil. You desire to have no fear of the authority. Do that which is good, and you will have praise from the authority, for he is a servant of God to you for good. But if you do that which is evil, be afraid, for he doesn't bear the sword in vain, for he is a servant of God, an avenger for wrath to him who does evil. 1 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 13. But those who are outside God judges, put away the wicked man from among yourselves. 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 10. For we must all be revealed before the judgment seat of Christ, that each one may receive the things in the body according to what he has done, whether good or bad. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verses 5 through 10. Constant friction to people of corrupt minds and destitute of the truth, who suppose that God is as a means of gain. Withdraw yourself from such. But godliness with the contentment is great gain, for we brought nothing into the world, and we certainly can't carry anything out, but having food and clothing, would be content with that. But those who are determined to be rich fall into a temptation, a snare, and many foolish and harmful lusts, such as drown men in ruin and destruction. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. Some have been led astray from the faith in their greed, and have pierced themselves through with many sorrows. Hebrews chapter 10, verse 28. A man who disregards Moses' law dies without compassion on the word of 2 or 3 witnesses. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 23. To the festal gathering assembly of the firstborn, who are enrolled in heaven, to God the judge of all, to the spirits of just men made perfect. Finally, the book of Revelation chapter 3, verse 17. Because you say, I'm rich and have gotten riches, and have need of nothing, and don't know that you're the wretched one, miserable, poor, blind, and naked. Okay, folks and family, if you stuck with me this far for over an hour, congratulations. We're going to give you the Spotify worship song for you today. MDSN, Hunger. The song Hunger by MDSN. And I'll post both these links, the Spotify link and the YouTube video link, in the description box below. Daily and nightly worship of the Lord is essential for eternal life. Okay, folks and family, that's the Word for the Day, Part 1, for May 12, 2020. Once again, the Word for the Day, Part 1, May 12, 2020. Today is Sunday, September 13, 2020, 11:24 a.m. God bless you all as you go about your day today. Worship God, Spirit, and truth. Go to church as often as you can. Pray without ceasing. Read your Bible every day, 2 chapters a day. And finally, take the communion every day, bread and cup. God loves you, and so do I. Take care of yourselves, and remember Jesus Christ is coming very, very soon. Get ready for His return. This is your day of salvation. Your day to repent, for the kingdom of God is at hand. This is your decision day. Your day to redeem yourselves. Everyone have a great day, have a great week, and I will see you in the next video upload if the Lord wills you so. Bye-bye for now. Love you all. Take care.